Hello and welcome back to another video, my friends. My name is Hubble, and today we're taking a deeper look into Cloud's unique story from the perspective of both the Final Fantasy and the Kingdom Hearts canonical universes. Ultimately, we're investigating the connection between the series that could hint at a potential reappearance and role for Cloud as we move into Kingdom Hearts 4. Throughout the process, however, we uncover a much larger truth about Cloud's universal story. Cloud Strife is a character in need of no introduction, unless you're one of the, maybe 719 people on this planet that love RPGs, but have been strategically avoiding all things Square Enix over the last 25 years and have never played Kingdom Hearts. Since your interest brought you to this video, I have a hard time believing you're one of these sad few souls. That being said, there will be both Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts spoilers in this video, so if you're still holding out on anything, maybe it's not the right time for you to hear these theories out. Consider this your one and only official spoiler warning. But first, we need to do a more focused recap for the more casual fanbase or those of you who may not know both sides to the story. I do assure you that if you know anything about Tetsuya Nomura and his projects, you'll know that everything has meaning. That being said, I still recommend even the most seasoned of fans stick around to be refreshed on the events, as even missing a few key points could lead to a world of confusion when we go to stitch them all together. Regardless, there's still admittingly a lot to cover here, so chapters will be available in the description as well as the video play bar for those of you who only need certain bits of information before we break it all down and forge it together. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the nitty-gritty, shall we? Starting our investigation in Kingdom Hearts 1, we are first introduced to Cloud in the Olympus Coliseum, who struck up a deal with Hades. Cloud was promised to be reconnected with Sephiroth after he defeats Hades in the Cups. Things don't go as planned, and during the events of Olympus, Cloud is saved by Hercules as Sora is left to fight Cerberus. Following his victory, Sora has a conversation with Cloud in which he admitted that he attempted to use the darkness to his advantage, but failed. Specifically, Cloud says that he fell into darkness and couldn't find the light. Skipping far forward in our journeys, Cloud and Sephiroth do eventually end up meeting at the Colosseum, and we see their first conflict in the universe of Kingdom Hearts. Both of them express that they have been searching for each other. Cloud also feels that in order to awaken from his nightmare, he has to defeat his own darkness. Sephiroth tries to convince him to turn to that darkness, but Cloud refuses, and the two clash. All we do know for sure is that Sid eventually guides him to reunite with the cast of Final Fantasy VII in Hollow Bastion as seen in the end credits. It is important to note that the timeline of this particular event is not 100% clear, which we will touch back on later. Moving forward to Chain of Memories, Cloud once again appears in the Colosseum, this time being constructed of Sora's memories. The story plays out very similarly, but instead of Cloud's main objective being to find Sephiroth, his goal is to regain his own lost memories. Hades promises a similar thing to that of the original Kingdom Hearts. Cloud is to compete in the games and kill Hercules. Things progress as they normally do, more or less, but this time after the battles, Cloud apologizes to Sora, who tells him that the important memories are never truly gone, that even the tiniest thing can help a person remember things that they thought they had forgotten. This one needs a lot more detail included, as the developments and dialogues within Kingdom Hearts 2 leave loads of clues that will be referred to again. I imagine many people didn't realize just how important they were, including myself, until diving into this project. Cloud appears yet again in Hollow Bastion, this time being dressed in his canonical Advent Children drip and weapon equipped. He tells Sora again that he is still looking to defeat his darkness, which is embodied by Sephiroth. He asks for Sora's help in finding him, but also warns Sora that Sephiroth will try to turn Sora to the darkness. We even comment on his new look, but Cloud says that if he looks different, it's Sephiroth's fault. During this reunion, Aerith also speaks to Cloud, who refuses her help. She asks if Cloud doesn't want her there when he goes away again. He assures her that no matter how far he goes, he will always come back to Hollow Bastion. She agrees, saying, "Once you find your light, I'm sure to lead you right back here again." During the grand battle to protect the world, when the Final Fantasy cast joins Sora in his fight against the onslaught of Heartless, Sephiroth appears before Cloud. Cloud expresses his mindset that once he defeats Sephiroth, the darkness within himself will go away. Sephiroth does tell Cloud that the darkness stems from his own dark memories and asks, "Do you think you can erase your past?" Sephiroth continues to dig at Cloud's psyche and says, "Face it, you turn your back to the present and live in the past, because the light of the present is too much." It's at this point that Tifa finds Cloud, blinding him with a flash of light. It is at this moment that Sephiroth responds, "I know, because I am you." Later in the storyline of Hollow Bastion, or Radiant Garden, Sora finds Sephiroth posted up in the dark depths, lying in wait. When approached, we see the first real dialogue Sephiroth has with Sora, where we find out that Sephiroth certainly knows something about Keyblades and fights us, trying to claim the Keyblade for himself. Following Sora's victory, Sephiroth says that although Sora is skilled, it seems Cloud is the only one who can truly eliminate him, and asks Sora to give Cloud the message that he is ready to settle things. Upon doing so and returning, we are spectators to yet another clash. Sephiroth continues to argue that Cloud can never let go of his darkness or his past. The battle goes on, and Sephiroth says that defeating him is useless, quoting, "Defeating me is meaningless. You know that more than anyone, Cloud. No matter how many times I fall, your darkness keeps calling me back." Sephiroth's words seem to weigh heavily on Cloud's heart, but Tifa appears to join in and help. Cloud refuses her assistance, but she retaliates. Sephiroth reiterates the futility of her help because Cloud can never let go of the darkness. Tifa doesn't contest this argument, but rather proposes that by surrounding Cloud with light, the darkness within him will be suppressed to a point where Sephiroth cannot reach it. Tifa and Sephiroth have a quick exchange, and Cloud again becomes rather disoriented and is blinded again by this mysterious light. Cloud recovers and places himself poised between Sephiroth and Tifa. Tifa then offers Cloud her light, and Sephiroth persists, saying that the light does not suit him. Cloud shows uncertainty, but begins to glow with a bright light, and they both rush into the air. The conflict concludes with a blinding flash of light as they both disappear. Goofy questions if they made it back to their own world, and Sora responds confidently, "They went somewhere else. Cloud went to fight a great battle, to defeat the darkness inside him." When Sora asks Tifa what she will do now, she says that she will just keep looking and that light is easy to find. If you couldn't tell, the purposeful open endings to these conflicts between Cloud and Sephiroth are starting to become very apparent. Cloud does make one final appearance within the series, and guess what? Same shit, different game. Cloud, Hades, Deal, etc. However, this time, Sora and Hercules teach him that his real strength comes from the power of protecting the people he cares about. While technically all this happened to data versions of the characters and is not particularly relevant, I feel like it's important to include this note for the sake of being thorough. I want to give a quick shout out to all the beautiful people watching thus far. I seriously appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch. If you're enjoying yourself, please like the video and subscribe, because a lot of people who enjoy these videos tend to forget. A few seconds of your time would put the biggest smile on my face, help support the channel, and honestly, help me know what kind of content you guys want more of. This now brings us to phase 2 of our investigation, the juicy Final Fantasy VII lore. While the full story goes way beyond the time I have for you, we need to take a closer look at the overarching themes and specific events that take place. I'll try my very best to be brief. After the introductory events of the game, Cloud has a vision, Sephiroth appearing before him. Cloud is in disbelief, saying that he killed Sephiroth with his own hands. Sephiroth cuts him off, saying that he doesn't need to be reminded. The intro to this conversation definitely had me taken aback for a good while. However, after collecting my initial thoughts, my take didn't change very much. At this point in the timeline, even in the game's original canon, Cloud would have technically defeated Sephiroth once already. In fact, the imagery used in this moment directly alludes to the infamous scene of Cloud's hometown being destroyed, leading to that confrontation and consequently, much of Cloud's trauma. However, as the conversation went on, some subtle yet very important details followed. Sephiroth says that was then and this is now. After taunting Cloud of the destruction of almost all he held dear, he states that should the world come to an end, that which binds us together would be no more, and I would loathe to live in such a world. At the end of this encounter, Sephiroth asks Cloud a favor, saying, "Run, Cloud, run away." The hallucination ends with Cloud moving in for a slash as Sephiroth and the flames engulfing Midgar dissipate. We head now to Cloud meeting Aerith, where we're introduced to rather mysterious, ghost-like black spirits. As Shinra forces move in to capture Cloud, these spirits chase Aerith away. Moving ahead through the plot, these spirits make many reappearances. We even see the spirits' direct influence over events such as when Cloud attempts to kill Reno, as well as saving Aerith from falling into Reno's hands immediately following the event at the church. I won't go into every single occurrence because frankly this video is already getting pretty lengthy, and for those of you who are more curious, you should play the game. Seriously, it's phenomenal. In fact, I'll more than likely be doing a playthrough with my girlfriend at the time this video comes out. Anyway, the important takeaway from all of this is that the spirits are a strong part of the game's overall narrative. We are much later told that the spirits, or whispers as they're referred to, are arbiters of fate. Quoting Red 13, they are drawn to those who attempt to alter destiny's course and ensure that they do not. In the climax leading up to the game's finale, these whispers engulf the Shinra building. The party goes to make their escape, but are abruptly stopped as Sephiroth reappears. The whispers erupt in a frenzy, rapidly spreading around all of Midgar as Sephiroth prophetically says, "Destiny comes." He rips through the whispers, opening up and passing through a portal. Aerith stops Cloud from following him, saying, "This is the point of no return." She explains that the whispers of the planet do not reach Sephiroth, making him the single greatest threat to the world, but should they continue, nothing will play out as it's supposed to be. The group agrees to stop him and passes through the portal. The final events of the game consist of Cloud and gang facing off against the Whisper Harbinger and various manifestations. After their victory, the party sees visions of the events that have yet to come to pass from the original story. Sephiroth again asks Cloud to join his efforts to defy destiny. In classic fashion, Cloud refuses and Sephiroth vanishes yet again. The very end of the game is left open as we all wait for part 2. The existence of alternative timelines is heavily implied, but that's not relevant to this theory and should be considered just that for now. Alternate. With all of that incredibly oversimplified lore out of the way, how does this all tie together and what does any of it have to do with Kingdom Hearts? All of this is important for context, and to be completely honest, when I first started writing for this video, my first general theories changed and altered so much along the way. What I came up with at the end is much different than what I started off with, taking a deeper look. I have a lot of thoughts that connect to one another here, and I'm trying my very best to make this as progressive and linear as humanly possible so that it's even remotely coherent. I promise you that is no easy task, so bear with me. I recently made a video where I was comparing and contrasting the Japanese voice acting cast for the Kingdom Hearts series, and I thought for sure that the narrator for the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer was Takehiro Sakurai, the voice of Cloud since his original appearance in Kingdom Hearts 1. This was my original theory that sparked the interest, leading me to look back and see what else I could find. However, a few days after this theory was posted, the community finally cracked Nomura's cipher from the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary event, revealing the Union Cross character Sigurd to be the true narrator. Regardless, I still see a role for Cloud being somewhat of a mentor or at the very least an ally to Sora in Kingdom Hearts 4. To me, it would just make too much sense. Cloud, if somehow connected to the Final Fantasy VII Remake, would know all too well about changing destiny and challenging fate, much like Sora did at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 and Remind. A strong connection between Cloud and Sora was most certainly forged throughout the events of the series as we see them repeatedly interact in person, within memories, and even in data. In the events of Kingdom Hearts 2, Tifa caused the initial burst of light, and I think that the second was actually Sora giving some of his light up to Cloud too. Through these connections and this temporary link, Sora may have very well felt where Cloud went deep in his heart, hence his confident and immediate response, somewhere else. Although, at the time, Sora didn't have the knowledge to tell the others exactly where, and the obvious solution is Quadratum. What better place to have the ultimate dispute between light and darkness, whether it be Sora and friends against the Master of Masters' ambitions, or Cloud in his own personal darkness, than a place existing outside the influence of either side. With Quadratum serving as the starting region, it's likely we see Cloud early on as Sora begins to feel the connection upon waking there. Cloud may have even been to Quadratum a few times before. As he said when he was talking to Aerith, no matter how far he goes, he will always return to Hollow Bastion. Maybe Cloud has taken the journey to this quote-unquote other side or Quadratum before and found his way back. Through the conversations with Aerith, we know that Cloud has a habit of going away. Cloud's hesitation when he promises he'll come back no matter how far he goes could be an indication that only part of him can return, or only a version of himself. Tifa also somewhat reinforces this idea, as she's not worried whatsoever about his disappearance. She's also been looking for Cloud throughout the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 2 and is confident that as long as she keeps looking, he'll show up again. The fact that he goes away and comes back is not in dispute here, but rather repeatedly shown through his interactions with others. I think that awakening from his nightmare has a very strong meaning, especially since the themes of sleep and nightmares have been heavily debuted in Dream Drop Distance and tie in directly to Kingdom Hearts 3 with the power of waking and the sleeping keyholes featured within Remind. I think his nightmare is being stuck in a cycle, leaving and coming back as a different version of himself, or at the very least losing part of himself along the way. Cloud's motivation behind regaining his memories from Hades could also hint in that direction. Come to think of it, Cloud never actually referred to Sora by his name. I think that initial look that he gives us is defeat. He assumes we met in the past, but he doesn't actually remember us. This would partially explain why he is so distant and uncertain with the people that he knows and loves throughout Kingdom Hearts, and what he's running away from. Cloud running away is actually a recurring theme throughout the canonical Final Fantasy universe. Nomura himself has also confirmed some time ago that even in Kingdom Hearts 2, Cloud is distinctly running from something. In the remake, Cloud sees events that take place in the future, and we know that both Aerith and Sephiroth have a distinct understanding that they know what should have happened, their original fate. It's clear to me that in the remake, we are playing through the events of the past after completing the journey in the original Final Fantasy VII. Cloud is not initially aware of this, but his forgotten memories bleed through time, as they are never truly forgotten. At the end, we are given a chance to rewrite the story, but we can't know for sure what will happen until the future installments. The reason I bring this back up is because I think that in both the Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy universe, Cloud is stuck in a paradoxical loop. He runs from his past only to be caught up in repeating events, losing parts of his experiences as Sephiroth continually manifests from their bond. It's a part of who Cloud is, and that loop is reflected in both universes because of it. This is also supported by the original Final Fantasy VII's opening and closing cinematic, Aerith peering into the life stream. As one ends, it also begins. I originally thought that maybe Cloud actually left from Kingdom Hearts 2 and went to the remake, thinking they were subtly yet directly connected. But with Sora's response of somewhere else rather than their own world, I think it's much more likely that Cloud is playing out a similar loop self-contained within Kingdom Hearts. And much like how the remake is allowing Cloud to go back and change his fate separate from the original story, we may also see him break free of this fate in Kingdom Hearts 4. All things considered, it's also quite possible that both Cloud and Sephiroth suddenly appear in the sky with a bright flash, directly continuing their conflict as other events unfold. I personally think and hope Quadratum will serve as a new Hollow Bastion or Radiant Garden of sorts. By this, I mean we will continually go back to Quadratum for main story progression like we did in Kingdom Hearts 2. This would leave plenty of opportunities for Cloud and potentially Sephiroth's return should my theory be wrong. However it happens, I would love to see a reunion with Cloud, and I would also like answers to see how the Final Fantasy VII universe, or which version of it, actually syncs up with Kingdom Hearts canon. And of course, teaming up with Cloud to take on Sephiroth would absolutely be, in my opinion, one of just the greatest fights in the series as a whole. If I am right, I would love to see Cloud join Sora as a crucial party member as they both fight to make their way home. Maybe Sora plays a key role in Cloud's story within the series, allowing him to remain whole while doing so. And don't forget, Sephiroth knows something about the Keyblade, and presumably its powers associated with darkness, worlds, hearts, and fate. I am fully convinced that we'll see these characters return, and the possibilities are genuinely endless. One of the things I love most about both the Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts communities is how quick we are to break down and adapt to new information. Keep this in mind because at the end of the day, this is Tetsuya Nomura we're talking about. No matter how convinced or unconvinced you are by any of these theories, there's probably much more information just waiting to be shared that could completely flip both of our perspectives. Either way, post a comment to let me know what you think. Did I open you up to any of these possibilities, or did I completely miss the mark? Send this to a friend and see what they have to say. I genuinely read every single comment and honestly loved the discussions I had with some of you guys in my last video. Maybe this is all just wishful thinking on my part, but I think between all the ideas I laid out today, some of these theories aren't so far-fetched. This one took me a long time to piece together and simplify, so I'm bound to have missed some details along the way. Take a short couple seconds to hit the like and subscribe button, as it goes a long way to making me know that my work is appreciated. And listen carefully when I say this, my friends. The heart may be weak, and sometimes it may even give in, but I've learned deep down that there's a light that never goes out. No matter how dark things may seem around you, whether it be a world of fiction or reality, keep looking up.